Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You are listening to Spin Polish Presents Unappreciated Masterpieces. I'm Ryan Sliwinski.
And I'm the bee.
The bee,
Yep.
Queen Bee, herself.
No. Man bee.
Man Bee. I have a friend who's called Man Bee.
Shit.
Like, I legitimately have a friend who's called Man Bee. So are you my Indian friend who wears a turban called Man Bee? Hi, Man Bee. So, obviously, you are not Man Bee.
Wait, is he Hindi?
No, he's Sikh. We've gone over this and listen to the Bend It Like Beckham episode in which
Right.
I've already discussed my friend Man Bee.
I thought that might have been.
So, you're Bartek, because if people can read, they'll read your name as Bartek.
I'm Boy Bee.
Yeah, he's Boy Bee. So, what is it that we do on Unappreciated Masterpieces, Bartek?
Have we established that that's the name of the show? Or...
Yeah, we're
Oh,
calling
yeah. You're
Unappreciated
listening to
Masterpieces.
Spin and Polish Presents. I'm right.
Why we
Yeah.
call it Spit in Polish, I hear you ask? Likingly because we're always spitting, and we both happen to be Polish.
Isn't that right, Bartek? Yes.
Isn't that right, Bartek? Yes.
What we do on this show is that we find those movies that, you know, some people, if you ask your average Joe or man bee on the street, they'll say, it's not that great. Might have seen it once, didn't really care for it.
That doesn't sound like my friend Manby. Not your average Manby.
Well, your average one. Your friend is very unique.
Yeah. Special.
Yes. And we find these movies that people say those kind of things about. Not your Manby, but average Manbys and Joes. And we give them audio commentaries on this podcast, which you, the listeners, can, play it simultaneously to the movie, but only when we say. If you do it early, you're going to be lost.
You're going to be lost.
We're going to wag our finger at you.
Wagging it.
Did I miss any key points?
No, that's you pretty much hit the nail on the head. So we talk about movies that need to be talked about. Movies that deserve the love. Because the general public and the critical public may not have given this the praise and desire that it needs. Bartek, of course, what is the unappreciated masterpiece that we're going to be tackling today?
Ryan, of course, the movie that we are doing today is Revolver I Melonik.
Revolver and Bowler Hat.
Yes!
That's my favourite one.
Yeah!
Revolver and Bowler Hat.
Yeah.
That's my favourite movie.
Wait, so you speak Polish now?
I've learned it. Look, I learnt it. Just for this specific day. I only in this podcast will I understand Polish. So, you can throw any Polish thing at me and I'll know what you're saying. So, lucky day, listeners.
Yes.
I do know how to speak Polish today. We're watching Revolver and Bowler Hat, which came out in 1998.
Yep.
Of course, for you people going, wait a moment, the title on this episode doesn't say Unappreciated Masterpieces, Revolver and Bowler Hat. It says The Avengers, 1998. Well, yes, they are both the same movie, isn't that right?
Yep. The Polish localized title is Revolver and Bowler Hat.
Yes, so we are watching The Avengers 1998, but we don't always do this alone. Sometimes we need a brave guest, someone who will swim the murky waters of these films. Today, we are joined with the legendary, the mighty, Earth's mightiest hero. We call forth an Avenger to join us.
Can I say a name?
Yeah, sure.
You say it, Ryan.
Lauren Thuys.
Hi.
Which is not Polish. In our first episode with you, Lauren, which was many, many, many episodes back,
The
we
second
discovered
episode.
we discovered what your last name is, and it is not Polish. So,
No.
that's the answer to that question you're wondering, because we don't really ever have the luxury of having a third Polish person on here, unfortunately. Polish people are very rare to find.
We had one that was quarter Polish.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
So, we are doing The Avengers 1998. Yes, of course, different from the 2012 remake, which...
Remake.
Well, it has the same name, doesn't it? That means it's a
Yeah.
In a world full of reboots and reimagining.
Look,
Can't win with Lauren.
On Wikipedia, when you go to that movie's page, it specifically says 2012, and if you go to the one for this movie, it specifically says 1998. So clearly they're separated because they're related.
Or
somehow.
they're sequels. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm sure if Ralph Fiennes just pops up in here, in here and in the 2012 Avengers, would you be like, oh, it's clearly John Steed? Yes. There would be no question about it. So, this movie, it is based off a 1960s television show called Revolver and Bowler Hat.
Yes, in Poland it is called Revolver i Melonik.
That's the cutest Polish title we've had because it's so... Okay, we've had a few on here.
Because it's accurate.
It's accurate. We've had a few on here that are literal titles of things. But boy, is this one the most... It's a funny thing. I don't even think of a revolver in this.
Yeah.
Like, I think of umbrellas. It's like, if you called this movie Umbrellas and Bowler Hat, I would be like, that's...
So I guess that would make it Parasolka i Melonik?
No, it would make it Brolly.
Probably, right. Gotta get the slang in there. And also, the localized title, clearly was a universally inspired thing because all the movies we've had Lauren on has an article of clothing in the title now.
So, Lauren, it's telling us that you need to remove all of your clothing. So, get onto it.
And then
so, for this episode, Lauren is completely naked. Imagine that.
At
you
the
can
end,
close your eyes, whatever helps you imagine.
At the end, she'll put on some Thunderpants, a tuxedo, and a bowler hat.
And a revolver.
And a revolver.
She wears a revolver proudly.
So don't worry about the tuxedo pants.
Get your copy of The Avengers ready, guys, because this movie needs to be watched. It is not just a film, it is a surrealist nightmare put onto screen. This movie, get your 1998 copy ready because we're going to start this bad boy. We're going to start it now. Get prepared. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1, play.
I like how you said 1998 copy so someone might have a VHS.
Well, somebody might be sitting there going, well, I've got my TV show copy ready to watch this.
Can I also say, it was so hard to find this movie. I had to go on iTunes. I wanted to buy it because I was like,
wow.
buy the DVD.
Did I mention that the version we're watching is a 1080p copy? So it's the highest grade quality.
Oh, wow.
Might add, this opening credit sequence goes for like 4 minutes.
I know.
Which is pretty high up there in long opening credit sequences we've done on this show.
Yeah, I think it was actually 3 minutes, but it did feel long.
I added an extra minute just for dramatic effect. So, what was our history with this movie, guys? Bartek, let's hear from you.
I was aware of it before... Actually, funny fact, I was aware of it before I knew what, the Marvel Avengers were, because I heard someone make a joke about it, oh, the Avengers! Oh, this movie's finally come out! And then he watches it and it's like, oh, this isn't the Marvel movie that's coming out. This is some 60s spy show.
Okay, so you had not actually watched it before, but you heard of its greatness.
Yes, and all I remembered of that guy talking about it was that there's a scene where people dress as teddy bears.
Great. Lauren, what about you? What was your history with this movie?
I had no history with this movie at all.
Oh, what? So did you know anything about it?
Not really.
You knew nothing. So when I came up to you and said, okay, so Lauren is one of the only guests on this show that I say, Lauren, you want to come on the podcast? And they're like, yeah. And I say, what movie are we going to do? And I give her always 2 options. And each time it was, okay, the first time I said Thunderpants, but then the second time I said The Tuxedo or 80 Days Around the World. And she chose The Tuxedo. Yeah. And then this time, she's like, what movie, Ryan? And I just said, we could do 80 Days Around the World or The Avengers. And Lauren just fires back at me going, oh, yes, The Avengers. The one with half the cast of Harry Potter in it.
That's because I Googled it really quickly.
And then you're like, oh, it's got Rafe or Ralph Fiennes. Depends how it's Rafe, but
Rafe.
We'll let you get away with, because you've said Ralph a few times.
Wait,
Lauren, so.
it's Ralph? It's Rafe?
It's Rafe.
Rafe, because
it's Rafe.
It's Irish, right?
Northern Irish.
Northern Irish, so it's pronounced slightly different. It's spelt Ralph.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, it's spelt Ralph, but it's pronounced Rafe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So it's pronounced Rafe because he's Northern Irish, I do believe.
I should add, with my backstory thing of it, in year 12, our media class studied for one of the topics, 60s spy shows, and we didn't study the Avengers, but it was one of the ones that was mentioned in that class.
Yeah, they give away, in the end of this credit sequence, basically they give away the big climactic moment, which is, of course, giant plastic balls. So yeah, you were saying, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, we studied 60 spy shows, and this was one of the ones that our teacher mentioned.
You know, this opening sequence here. You know, I don't know how you feel, Lauren, and I don't know how you feel, Bartek, about Ralph Fiennes as a man or as an actor or whatever. But this opening sequence and how he is in the film really reminds me that he is an attractive man in an unattractive way. You know what I mean? Like,
he's a bit like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah,
sense.
but more charming.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's very charming.
Yeah, is that...
I just kind of every time I look at his eyes, I just think of Voldemort's eyes, and that ruins it.
No, with me, I think of Grand Budapest Hotel.
That's me too. You know, that or Schindler's List.
Yeah.
But
this opening. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
no, that's okay. This opening sequence, Bartek, is did you know what was happening? Because you guys went into this blind. I've seen this. My history was I've seen this a million times. My parents owned it on video.
I figured that this was kind of like in Suburban Commando, where he fights his people he knows, but it's like a friendly thing. So you got me this time.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Alice was in the opening sequence.
Yeah.
I watched it last night, and that's the old lady that is, spoiler alert, my favorite character in the movie.
Oh wow.
She's in this opening sequence. It makes me wonder how many of these people in the opening sequence appear later in the movie. None, I imagine, other than her.
I just realized I haven't yet said what this opening sequence reminded me of. It reminded me of the ending of Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, where he goes through the town. It reminded me, you know what is interesting about this?
I love the fact you become really sus of the nuns. You're like,
I was hoping that they would turn around with machine guns.
Yeah, well, with me, I was like, oh, the nuns aren't smiling like everyone else, so, you know.
Yeah, so they must be real nuns.
Yeah.
I love this guy. He never comes back. You think that he is because they've established like a character for him. Like, I thought that he was this guy's version of Q. But then later on, he has his tailor that they say his name like a million times. A 9. How the hell do you get a 10? I mean, was the 10 just hit? Oh, 9... I love the nun smoking in the background. Just really dragging it in.
A 9 is the biggest digit.
Oh, well, there you go. But Ralph Fiennes has a weird kind of... He's British attractive. You know what I think makes him really kind of weird? He has such a mannequin face. That's the kind of feel, like his nose, the eyes, the mouth. There's this sense, especially in this movie, doesn't help, but there's this sense of a lack of human emotions.
Yes, I found that.
But then
he
watch,
just kept a straight
but
face.
even in this movie, he does have like warm-hearted smiles and stuff, and in Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
So he's got this interesting kind of wooden, kind of emotionless face, but it still transmits emotion that we can get, but it's not like the most expressive face.
Yeah.
What was the Coen Brothers movie he was in recently that I saw?
Oh, Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar, yeah.
He was great in that.
He has that too, but then later on you find out that it was like an actor's like really pissed off.
Yeah. So Jim Broadbent, the other Harry Potter actor, is...
Slughorn!
I know him, of course, from any movie because he's in every movie.
Oh, yes.
At the moment, he's in The Legend of Tarzan. He was in Bartek's favourite movie, Cloud Atlas. And
he's in Bridget Jones' Diary, which
Bridget
is also one of my favourites.
I like how I didn't dispute your Cloud Atlas thing, so for all they know, that is my favourite movie.
Here's something. Who is that artwork? Who are those? Is that...
I assumed it was her husband, because, you know, she's called Mrs. Pugh.
Yeah, but the artwork in the background's clearly of... Like, I'm not saying that she can't be married to a bald black man, but I want to know who that guy is, because I thought, is that Dave Chappelle? I thought, does she have an artwork? Does she have a whole wall of Dave Chappelle?
I like how the subtitles didn't mention that the phone was ringing, so she was just looking at it awkwardly, and then she answers it.
I like how she just eats that... What is it? Like
one chocolate.
The one... I thought it was a cherry for some reason. I like
That's
how...
hilarious.
London is bustling.
Oh, yeah.
in this
It's
movie.
completely empty.
Now, this guy was a close second for my favourite character in the movie.
This guy, yeah.
Who he appears in one scene, but he's a character that you know his history. Like, I feel like he was born in this club on that floor right there.
Yeah.
And his mum wasn't allowed in.
It reminds me of that floor right there reminds me of
the floor later?
the Stepford Wives.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Not in Beatles, not since 1762. I'm an old man. No.
You know, bringing it back to Stepford Wives, you know Nicole Kidman was up for the role of Mrs. Peel.
Yeah, who wasn't up for Mrs. Peel?
Me.
Ooh,
Fucking Warner Brothers.
Voldemort.
And it's all white, so it does bring it back to that Death of Voldemort thing where he's under the white in King's
Yeah,
Cross.
but here's the thing. I said to Lauren, like, yeah, prepare yourself for a very polite, naked Voldemort. And I was not wrong, because the one word, sometimes with movies, even like these, in great movies, even complicated movies, you can really sum up a movie with like one phrase or like one word. And this movie is polite.
Yeah.
It's inoffensive, it's gentlemanly mannered, polite. It's a polite little movie.
Yeah, and to relate it to something we talked about last episode in Nothing But Trouble, I mentioned that Chevy Chase has a lot of one-liner things going around, and I compared it to Bob Hope in the Paleface movie. He also has one-liners, and that one is more like jokes, whereas the one in Nothing But Trouble is more like observations at the time.
Yeah.
And in this movie, they did the same thing with Ralph Fiennes. I have
Yeah,
these
Ralph.
two. Yeah. But it's more, the joke there is he's very calm in situations where people would panic.
Who wears a hat in their
He does.
passport?
Lauren, what is the Polish title of this movie?
Revolver and bowler
Bowler
hat.
hat.
So, I love his dandruff. I don't know why they added that. I like the secretary here. At no point did you think that her and, yes, mother, were in a
Romantic.
relationship,
Yeah,
but then at the end of the movie,
romantically
he's like stroking her hand and like she's feeding him the biscuits, and it's just great.
And they were staring at each other.
Yeah, and for anyone who hasn't watched the movie and is listening to this episode, mother and father are opposite genders of what you'd expect.
Yeah, so they're the head of the ministry.
The Ministry of what we'll never know.
Mother is, of course, Jim Broadbent, who is
Slug
padded
Hole.
up
Oh, right.
to look much fatter than what he is in real life,
Yeah.
covered in dandruff,
But
and
is
he smokes cigarettes where he's two cigarette fingers on his right hand, near the tips where the cigarette is held, yellow, browny, disgusting yellow, and let's not forget, he's also a crippled man. He is in a wheelchair. And my favorite thing about Mother in this whole entire thing is throughout majorities of this movie, he keeps referencing and quoting Alice in Wonderland.
This movie has a lot of Alice in Wonderland.
No reason. It's kind of like, I haven't asked this question with the movies that we've been doing on the show in a long while, because I feel like they don't need this question anymore. But this movie really does need the question. Who wrote this? I mean, what was the thought? Like, all these questions, like, who wrote this? It adds up to, what was the thought process behind making this? Because this movie was originally, wasn't out 115 minutes long, and it's now 89 minutes long. And you really do feel the missing segments in this movie, because things just happen. But at the same time, you go, well, even with the stuff that would have been added, you still have to go, who wrote this? Like, what was the thought process behind it? Because I know they had the TV show to manipulate into a feature-length modern-day movie, but at the same time, it's kind of like, the thought process was, let's have every character be polite, except for Eddie Izzard.
So you're saying you're confused by the fact that they had to put in a scene in a gentleman's club and a maze?
Yeah, which seemingly has no reason. Or like, look at his fingers. Ugh. But or that, father here is clearly a Nazi.
Also, it's not mentioned in the movie, but father's apparently blind.
Oh yeah, but
Yes,
you could just
yes.
tell by the acting.
Yeah.
The acting, because
Good old
she's like,
Petunia.
yes, the other Harry Potter actor has entered.
She's got a bit of a Doctor Strangelove going on.
Oh yeah.
Except that she's not the crippled one, it's Mother.
Oh, role reversals. Again and again.
Oh, and Doctor Strangelove was an ex-Nazi, so that...
There you go. See, yeah, ex-Nazi, still kind of a Nazi.
Well, ex in the sense that
The Nazi
he's
regime is
hanging
no
out with
longer-
Germany, America now.
Oh yeah, America's
now
known
he's
at all
dead.
Nazis. So, here we are, the infamous sword fight sequence. I haven't seen such an emotional sword fight since, I don't know, Zorro. Fun fact about this movie is that, Ralph Fiennes is in it. That's my fun fact. In case you were wondering, is that him? Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes is one of my mum's favourite actors.
Really? Does she call him Rafe?
No.
Oh, so it mustn't be that favourite then. I mean, so we haven't talked about the ugly duckling in the room, Uma Thurman. Yeah, I don't think that she. Look, I'll be in the minority here. I don't think that she's that attractive. And
Hold on.
I've never thought that. Like, she works in Pulp Fiction, but I don't think she's attractive in Pulp Fiction. I think she's just a woman with. I don't know. She's just awkward, which is great for this movie because you need two characters who are so polite and so mannered, yet they're socially awkward.
Okay, so both of them. So Rafe and Uma, were both
Lovers.
on one of the 100 sexiest stars in film history, according to Empire magazine in 1995.
Well, this is a few years after their
Yes.
prime, I guess. So, I guess I'm right.
So, which dynamic do you guys like more? These two or the two from the tuxedo?
I prefer the dynamic. Oh, that's a good question. I prefer the dynamic in Revolver and Bowler Hat.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that a revolver could fit into a bowler hat, but it just does.
You mentioned revolvers are like tiny guns that like pack a punch.
Yeah,
and that hat, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of bulletproof? Was it?
No. Is it because he blocks? He blocks bullets with it. But then when Sean Connery's in. Oh, there's Eddie Izzard.
What?
Sean Connery's in this movie. He throws his darts and it goes through his hat.
Yeah.
Well, darts are sharper than bullets.
Yeah, that's got me there. Actually, you know what? I'm done. And I just leave and I never come back. And then you just hear me at the end of the podcast going, you see you in the background, like, I can't believe it. Like, they're sharper. Like, how did I miss?
Should we talk about Eddie Izzard?
Can we not? No, let's talk about him as much as he talks in the movie.
Okay, so about Eddie Izzard. Who has the better fat suit? The mother in this movie or the number 2 tenor in Thunderpants?
I'm gonna go with
Thunderpants.
James Brown in the tuxedo. So, Ralph Fiennes' car is... You know how James... Okay, obviously, the Avengers was a kind of what if James Bond was on TV kind of show, but it was like, man-woman kind of dynamic, because James Bond is just a single ladies man who, fucks women. I do like how Sean Connery, who is James Bond... tries to rape
evil.
Uma Thurman at one point. I just go...
I was like, this is taking a dark turn.
So...
And you know what stopped... You remember what stopped him?
The doorbell, wasn't it?
The doorbell was ringing, and he has a butler. That's already been established. And he's just like, oh, I could rape this woman and forget the doorbell, but manners.
I'm gonna make a joke, guys. You know what Uma Thurman should have said to Sean Connery?
What?
Doctor, no.
He is a doctor in this movie, isn't he? No. He's just a
He's
Sir.
a
Sir August de Winter.
Look at that penis in the background.
Apparently the original character was called Merryweather.
Did you know that the rest of his family are also obsessed with weather to the point in which they're called May, June, July? I love that. I love? At this point in the movie, we've set up that August de Winter is insane because he believes that aliens are controlling the weather, and that's never picked up again. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, Ralph Fiennes just told her, yes, he's a bit weird, a bit eccentric. There's some philosophies that I don't agree with. He believes that aliens are controlling the weather.
I completely forgot about that, so when you said that, I was like, what?
And it's just like, what point does that even come across? Because it seems like August de Winter knows that aliens are controlling weather because he is controlling the weather.
Well, look, if you can...
Does that make him an alien?
Wouldn't it be a plot twist that the lightning was actually his mother's ship sucking him back up at the end?
Well, aliens, the maze, all this stuff that, it's in the movie for a specific reason. You know what it is, right?
What?
Come on, you know. It's that think about it, fits together, you know.
No, fate, probably. Destiny. Sorry, but what is it, Bartek? Because I'm getting distracted by the fact that he has a painting of her that is never explained or brought up again. Does this add to the maze?
Yeah, totally, absolutely, yeah.
Is it that the writer really wanted to psychoanalyze the audience
Can we talk about this butler?
enter, the butler who never answered the rape doorbell. Is it because this movie is a surreal film?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, totally.
Is that what you're getting at, Bartek?
Yep, absolutely.
This movie is not your average Hollywood blockbuster movie. It is a surreal movie. I'm not saying that Salvador Dali had a wet dream and it went onto the script and it went onto a piece of paper and then somebody wrote that semen into a script and that script was revolver and bowler hat.
So
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
So you're saying that in the persistence of memory, the melting clocks look like that because they made of paper and rain made it look all messed up?
Yeah, it was all August de Winter's fault.
Wow.
So here's the thing. In England, is winter in August?
No.
Are they in the northern... is it separated by northern territory? It's not territory. Hemisphere and southern hemisphere?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the Greenwich
They're in the
meridian.
northern hemisphere,
Yes.
so I guess...
Because his name's August de Winter, and it would be weird if August was not a winter month,
June, July.
and he was
Oh, it would be...
winter.
Wait,
No,
that means it's summer in
Yeah, it's
England.
summer over there.
So what's his fucking problem?
I guess it's
why didn't they call him something like winter? You know what I mean?
Maybe that's his tragedy.
His
He
summer
really wanted
and
to...
winter at the same time.
He wanted to be, de January to February or to December.
So
Could you call him to December?
Yes, Lauren and I both wrote the iconic quote that you can never forget from Sean Connery that you never thought that you would hear, which is the iconic. What is it? It's like one should never fear being wet. It's just like all the sexual innuendos in this movie are on purpose
He's
because
an avid scuba diver.
Yes, the sexual innuendos in this movie are of course on
I reckon
purpose
he's
because
just
it's
obsessed with her.
well, yeah, he has a
Really?
portrait of her above
Yeah.
his piano.
Wasn't that related to the original storyline?
We
or
will get
something?
into this original storyline because there's so many different sources saying what the original storyline was. Like at one point, it's not actually a clone of her; it's a robot.
Yes.
I don't know. My favorite. We haven't even talked about the plot. At this point, here's the plot.
The plot, I
this
don't
is the
even
hard
know.
part.
I didn't even know. At
Okay,
this
okay.
point.
Here's the plot at the moment. Okay. John Steed is a super secret agent for the Ministry, which is, the super spy agency of Britain. And they believe that a weather base was sabotaged, destroyed by Uma Thurman. They believe that Uma Thurman is the person because of clear video surveillance has proven that she did it. But for reasons unknown to us, the audience, they decide that their chief leading suspect should also be the head investigator of the actual incident. So they pair her, the lead suspect, with the super secret agent John Steed to investigate what actually happened. For some unknown reason, a surrealist reason probably, they believe Sir August de Winter has something to do with it, even though he has not done anything at all menacing or weird at any point to indicate that he is in it, other than he is a rich, powerful billionaire who has invested his life into the weather. And that's the plot right now.
So it feels like you're kind of lost in a maze.
It's kind of like I entered a telephone booth in the middle of the forest, and it's ringing for some reason to tell me that I'm trespassing. I couldn't hear it properly because it was too windy outside. And I'm just genuinely polite about it, going, I'm afraid I can't hear you, darling. So,
Apparently, isn't this meant to be on the island? Since when have we seen the water?
what island?
What? He drove up to the mansion?
It's at the mansion. What
I'm
island?
so confused.
What island are you talking about? The one at the end of the movie. No, it's because he uses these telephone booths to as an elevator thing
Oh, so
into
like
the
Harry
underground.
Potter?
Exactly
Into the
like
ministry?
exactly like Harry Potter.
I will admit, during that portion where he walked up the elevator, I kind of zoned out because I was thinking about something else. So when I started paying attention to the movie, I'm like, wait, he's in a phone booth in a forest? What?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. There's no transition to that point.
Yeah.
This is... Okay, I want you to see if you can name a few other scenes, but I'm going to name a few scenes that I feel are exceptionally beautiful in this movie because they are so surreal and out of nowhere. And that's the beauty of it. Well, this scene, of course.
I like this one.
This scene where it is like he's just come out of the wardrobe and he's entered Narnia just to get shot.
Oh, yeah.
There's the scene in which she's about to get raped and then she runs away into a weird room
Oh, yeah.
that never ends. Never, ever ends. And here's the thing. There's other options of where she can go, but she just keeps going
The same way.
straight. And she breaks... There's that one. There's the other time that they... Oh, the bears.
Yes, the teddy bears.
The bears. The whole chase sequence with the bears. And, of course, another
The
sequence...
robot insects.
No, that wasn't as surreal for me, but it is good. No, the other sequence I wanted to mention was that Alice, who we have not properly met, gets hit over the head by Eddie Izzard, and then at the end of the movie, she randomly appears in this really kind of surreal manner for me, personally, where Jim Broadbent's going, if only we knew what was happening, and then she comes in and goes, yeah, here's his list of demands. But she does it in this way where she kind of just, like, floats in, like she just kind of walks in and she's just kind of like walking in a way where it's kind of like she's ethereal and it's just like, okay.
Are you trying to tell me that a movie full of Alice in Wonderland references is surreal?
Okay, why is this an Alice in Wonderland movie? Because at no point did like I actually pick it up until like when he started quoting it, and then I'm like, so is this movie supposed to be Alice in Wonderland?
De Winter's company's called Winter Wonderland. In the maze, she falls down a rabbit hole, stuff like that.
She has...
There's a character named Alice.
Is it supposed to be Muhammad Ali? I'm still looking at this thing in the background. Is that Chevy Chase? It's a boxer.
Oh my god, it kind of does look like Dave Chappelle.
I'm not wrong, am I? Wouldn't it be a plot twist if we were all wrong and it was Louis C.K.? So what are the surreal moments for you? What were the moments where you're like, okay, I'm kind of lost now? Because this movie is a movie that keeps you lost on purpose. It is like a maze. At one moment you think you're almost out, and then, you hit a wall. So
Made of hedge.
So what about you, Lauren? What was
I'm trying to think.
It's hard because I listed all the great ones.
Yes, you did.
But what about the fact that he just got shot by her and now they're having a polite conversation while a piano plays itself?
Yes,
Because like you said, it's
I love
polite
it. I
movie.
like this room. I just like the design of it.
Yeah, because it's not at all evil.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this movie, for you guys being first timers to this, what did you think the plot was going to be about? Like, you know, when you watch a movie and they're setting up what's going to happen and you know, like, you have an expectation or you know how the movie's going to play out.
I thought it was going to be a bit like the Tuxedo, except you switch the water with the weather. So I totally went in there like that, thinking like that. And then I was like, what is this actually about?
Jackie Chan would have been nice in this movie.
Would it be a surprise if Ralph Fiennes was actually Jackie Chan?
Yeah, just like squint your eyes like, oh, it is Jackie.
No, he just rips off his face and it's Jackie Chan underneath. It's like, I'm around.
Yep, so like I said, I walked into this movie knowing like a few things, and I knew that Sean Connery was the villain, so like, I walked in being like, okay, they have to probably stop Sean Connery, so I had that in my head walking in.
And did they?
They defeated him.
They didn't try to stop him until like the last till the last 15 minutes of the movie when he decided to rule the world. Might I add, that was my favourite scene. in which he's wearing his full Scottish... Oh, fucking hell. He's wearing his full Scottish outfit. So, I said fucking hell because there are the bears.
Yeah, like, that's another thing. I walked into this movie knowing about this scene. I didn't expect it to be, like, so sudden.
Yeah, I said to Bartek, I do believe it was me, right? I mentioned, like, I'll go to the Avengers because there's a point in this movie where...
I knew about
They're
this.
dressed as bears, right?
I even ask you that. Is that the one where they're dressed as bears?
They're dressed as bears, and it makes sense because it's all about being anonymous, right? To hide their faces. But then comes a point where even his henchmen are wearing the outfits. Like, those two guys standing behind
Eddie
them.
Izzard's probably one of them.
No, they are, because you see Eddie Izzard throwing bear costumes in the trash. So it's like, these guys are like the soldiers, these businessmen all dressed as bears. Like, I understand the businessmen, but why are the henchmen dressed as bears? It's like, oh, we got to keep them secret too, I guess.
Also, there's one other person dressed as a bear we haven't mentioned.
Uma Thurman?
No, Sean Connery.
Oh, well, he's not a person, is he? He's a bear.
Sorry, he's an Irish person.
He's a bear. Irish. Yeah. Did you hear him say that, Jim? Am I in a surreal nightmare?
Did I say something weird?
You said Irish. You said he was Irish.
He's Scottish.
Yeah, I'm racist, remember?
Yeah, but he was Irish in The Untouchables, so I guess he won an Oscar for that. So.
That is the main thing I know him from. So
really, not James Bond.
No, because
not the League
another
of
reference. In year
Extraordinary-
12, I studied The Untouchables.
I like The Untouchables. Okay, for me, just randomly, he has the most British weapon of choice ever. Darts. Like, could you have... this movie was really missing. It didn't just be slugging back a pint and throwing darts. Wouldn't it have been great? He's dressed... Here's how the climax should have gone.
Yeah.
They're having a fight in a lightning storm.
Yeah.
Like they do. John Steed standing there in his full suit trying to fight Sean Connery with a sword, and Sean Connery's dressed as a giant bear with a pint in one hand, slugging it and just throwing darts at Ralph Fiennes as he gets closer and closer. And then when he runs out of darts, he just Sean Connery just turns around and smacks his wife and just goes, "Look what you made me do!" And then Ralph Fiennes is just apologetic to the wife. And then Sean Connery just pushes him off the balcony, and that's how it should have went down.
He should have thrown the darts through lightning bolts so that they become lightning darts.
This movie...
Yeah.
I feel like that scene was just out of what's the place called? Science Works?
Science Works. Mystery Theatre.
The place
Mystery
near
Science Theatre.
Westgate Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how they left them there.
What?
They left the bears there. They left them there.
Ryan, they're not actually bears.
You know, I've never worn a giant bear costume, but isn't that easy to turn the heads? Because they were turning their heads really easy in these bear costumes, and I thought it would be a bit hard.
I assume maybe it would be very tight.
Yeah, but they took it off real easy. So
well, they used force. I
the
guess.
bears... I thought they were going to undress these guys and dress up as the bears to blend in, but instead they did something that I wouldn't have done as a super secret agent, which is walk out in eye view of
I find this scene
All you needed was a sound effect over that. All you needed was Body Snatcher's sound effect where he just points and you just hear and then
It's Godzilla.
oh my god. Okay, can I say something? There's a review that I did not include in this.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense, and not in a good fun way. But there was a movie review that I could have chosen that was this movie is exactly like Godzilla meets the Avengers. And they go
Which
on.
Avengers? This one.
This one.
Yeah.
This movie is like Godzilla meets the Avengers. And then I'm reading it, and they're just bagging the movie out. And then in the review, they're like, this movie is very much like Godzilla meets the Avengers. And then they stop that sentence and just continue on with ragging it. And I'm like, what does that mean?
So he does. Maybe he means
What does that mean?
Maybe he didn't like the movie Godzilla, and he also doesn't like this one.
Yeah, but I was
two-
expecting okay, it's like me saying you know.
Yeah, you think he was going to explain it?
Yeah, this is Grown Ups 2 meets the Avengers. I'm like, that you have to make parallels of what you're talking about. For that, it was
You are
just like
right. The Adam Sandler could.
Adam Sandler. Where is the next Adam Sandler movie where he's playing a super secret agent and Kevin James is the bad guy?
Was he a secret agent in You Don't Mess with the Zohan?
I think he was just a really.
Oh, look, the
maybe
strategically
he was.
placed map.
I just want to there it is. The strategically placed map, which does play into it when spoiler alert, out of nowhere, this film establishes that being invisible
Oh,
exists. Might I add, do you remember the invisible guy, right? The invisible man, you might say.
Yeah.
He says that now that he's invisible, they've just given him a desk job, and they're they're spies.
Yeah.
Why would
I
they
don't
not
get
have
it.
him out on the field?
What does that have to do with... I don't get it.
What?
I don't get the ref.
Well, he'd be the perfect
Spy.
spy because he wouldn't be seen.
He's
at
invisible.
all.
He's invisible. And
How
they
would that make him a good spy?
Because he was already a spy.
Yeah.
And then in some unfortunate test,
Yeah.
they made him invisible. So now they're sticking him in a desk job. The
Yeah.
whole point of
Makes
being
sense.
No, it doesn't.
Why would he be a spy? He's invisible. No one can see him.
Exactly. He would go into these secret places and be able to listen to everything because also his clothes are invisible too.
I thought he because his
What are you on? Are
How?
you winding me up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
how are his clothes invisible when his pipe and everything isn't? And then so technically he could go to work nude.
But yeah, he is. His clothes are invisible because you see when he goes in front of the projector screen, he's wearing a full suit.
Yeah.
Which
you actually
means
get
he
to see
could
him.
just hold a tape recorder.
Wait, does that mean that security cameras would be like his weakness?
No, I think it's projected light
Ah.
or rain. You know,
What
it's
about
kind
paint?
of
Just throw paint everywhere.
No, it would.
Yeah.
It's the typical Invisible Man kind of monsters kind of thing of you throw water and paint and whatever, and you can see the outline body stuff of it. I like, I will be honest, I rather did enjoy Father in this because Father's so insane. Father and Mother are insane, but Father is particularly insane, and then you actually find out in the movie that Father's actually insane. I thought, I forgot the plot twist that Father is in fact working with De Winter. I thought this Father was just a weirdo, but in the end it's like, no, Father's actually an evil scientist nut job. I like, in this movie, this was 1998, so you got to think of the context of what was happening in the world.
My brother wasn't born yet.
He wasn't.
No, he was 1999.
Oh boy.
He's
So,
a boy.
Yeah, that's what I say, boy, oh boy. This movie, it was in a weird era of film where the blockbusters that were back in the day had changed with Independence Day primarily, where you now had silly camp movies again. Because before that, you had these dark, gritty movies such as Batman 1989 and Batman Returns and all that.
Was this the same year as, I know you mentioned it, Godzilla with Matthew Broderick?
No, that was 1996.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, yeah.
So it was a couple years after. But that's what I mean, Roland Emmerich changed the world of blockbusters to fun, campy movies. Hence, the Batman movies in the 90s became campy affairs because that was the landscape of film. Now we're in this landscape where half of the blockbusters are dark, gritty, and the other half are Marvel, where they're fun. But even now, Marvel is becoming dark and gritty, you know what I mean? So we're back in that phase of the later 80s kind of blockbusters, where it's all gritty kind of blockbusters. I'm not saying that all of them are, but in this time, pretty much any blockbuster movie like this one is camp, fun, silly, even though...
Would you call them popcorn flicks?
Yeah, they're popcorn movies, yeah. They give the real definition of popcorn movie. And this one, being British, takes the camp, fun thing into a surreal kind of sense where it's like, what happens if we got this old TV show where they were, gentlemanly and polite, and the whole joke is everyone is polite in this movie, to the point in which the little things are the things that they worry about, and the big things about ruling the world and all that, they don't care about as much.
And
Because that's the kind of joke.
And to also the point that the only instance of swearing was added in post-production.
Yeah.
It wasn't even intended to be there.
So, I think what my personal understanding of this movie's failure is there's a few things. And it's obvious watching it now, but I think time has really helped it, because now watching it in this day and age where we are no longer in this camp era and remembering what the camp eras were like, these were all a dime a dozen, but now this one stands out. It failed at the time because it was against everything else. It was against God's, not specifically in that year, but it was against, Godzilla and
those type of movies.
Independence, all those type of movies. So it had no chance to succeed because it's a British movie with like Ralph Fiennes, who yes was in The English Patient and yes Prince of Egypt, but he's still
and had been nominated for numerous Oscars already.
But he was still oddly enough not a widely known actor. Like even now, he's done Grand Budapest, and what do people know him from?
Harry Potter.
He plays Voldemort in Harry Potter, which to me, I may offend you, Lauren, but I find Voldemort to be like the lamest character in the movies. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, I do.
He is so boring. Like when you actually have Voldemort there. I'm not saying that it's Ralph Fiennes' fault. I think it's the typical, they've built this guy up so much that now when he's standing there and it's a children's movie, even when they made them grittier and meaner, when you needed Voldemort to be like full on evil, like you've heard, you need an R-rated movie because Voldemort's a motherfucker.
Well, even Ralph Fiennes, when he was when he was considering taking on Voldemort, he was thinking I shouldn't do it because he actually didn't like the character.
Yeah, no
the
one
way
likes
he'd
Voldemort.
been developed in the films. But then the director at that time showed him some kind of like the artistic concepts.
And he was like,
yeah,
I'll do
and
it.
he's like, oh yes, I'll do it because I like dressing up and I like, I want to be bad.
It was either that or Johnny Depp, so got picked.
And Voldemort's presence throughout the whole series is mostly like talked about as opposed to seen.
Yeah, it's all menace.
Yeah, and so when you finally see him, he has really long, like almost polite speeches and stuff like that.
And he's like, hug.
And was there not a bit of trivia that his favorite one to do was the very last one because that's where he actually got to do a bunch of crazy stuff?
Yeah, he got to be evil as fuck in that last movie.
So he really enjoyed that one the most, as opposed to like, I don't know, Goblet of Fire where he's just
first appeared, yeah. So yeah, this movie, you got to think of the time period, and I think it failed because of that. And you know what? It's a smart person's comedy. In the ways of, yes, it caters to the general mass with puns. So many puns, Lauren. Lauren, I know you're a fan of puns. But it's also really smart.
In Polish, the word pun means like a person. So a man, I mean.
So you're a fan of men. She's naked, by the way, so just think about that. So, reminder. This movie, to the general mass, was never going to win because it's an intellectual person's blockbuster, which is very rare to come across. And I think the other main point is it's a one-joke movie, and, no, we're not really used to one-joke movies played out for the entire movie. Like, we get one-joke movies like, all those Will Ferrell movies, but they throw in a barrage of jokes outside of just that one joke. It's kind of like, that's the spine of the movie. But the whole one joke is the entire body of the movie, the flesh, the bones, all of that.
It's kind of interesting when you compare it to, again, Nothing But Trouble, where that movie was spawned from a one-joke concept, and then it just became a completely different thing, to where the point that one joke, aka John Candy in drag, isn't the biggest part of the movie.
No, it's a great
It's
part.
integral, but it's not the biggest thing, because I think, JP stands out the most.
Yeah, so, when you guys saw Eddie Izzard, and he manufactures a way to take out John Steed, which is to send a whole hive worth of wasps that are...
CGI wasps.
No, they're real.
They are?
Didn't you just see that he just ripped one apart on the back of his car? Get
He
your
did
shit
too.
together, Bartek.
I'm such a freaking idiot.
If my friend Manby was here, he would know.
I'm so stupid. I'm just sitting here, not even looking at the screen. I'm looking at the naked lady in the room, and I just not.
And
thinking
Bartek's
straight.
looking, going, "What do I do with this? I don't know. Is this look, or do I look at the Avengers and talk about that? I don't know. I'm just gonna sit here in the corner and shake a bowl. It sounds dirty.
Fun fact: the second shake was Ryan.
Fun fact. That's a car.
Is that the fact?
What?
Is that the fact?
Yeah.
And it's a car?
Was it fun?
Yes.
Fun fact, guys. Vroom, vroom. That's car for I'm driving.
Car for I'm driving.
I'm just giving you material to make more images for the page.
So, in this film, it was originally 115 minutes long, but Bartek, could you tell the story of what happened, of why it's 89 minutes long? Because I find it hysterical, and I just want to hear you tell it in particular.
I believe it was because what was it? It wasn't funny or something?
No,
audiences hated it?
Oh, you forget? Alright. What happened was, Lauren and Bartek, was they showed this to a test audience.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the test audience that they showed this very British comedy intellectual movie to was an audience of people who could only speak Spanish.
Oh, that's right! I forgot about that.
They showed it to a test audience of Spanish-speaking people, and they hated it because they didn't understand anything. So they edited it down to 89 minutes, and they didn't even test screen it for the critics because they were like, oh, this doesn't make they edited it down to this point where even the big wig studio execs are just like, this doesn't make any sense. I'll just put it out. Put it out.
I remember the critics thing. I was going to mention it earlier.
Oh yeah, they didn't show it to the critics.
Yeah, I was going to mention it earlier when we talked about something later. Oh, what it was going up against, but I forgot to say.
Can we just point something out about Alice? She just grabbed a machine gun.
She's a hottie.
She's a hottie patottie. She just grabbed a machine gun, and now, did you notice what she tried to do to Eddie Izzard? She tried to shoot him.
Yeah, and he just kept running.
Yeah, well, obviously, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. But notice this. Pay attention to that. She managed to hear Eddie Izzard, who was very far away, step forward from a tree so that way she could turn to shoot him. Just remember that she has great hearing. Okay? Because that's something I wrote down. I'm like, oh, this lady has great hearing.
Look at that cock.
Yep. And then a camera. There's lots of, okay.
I forgot about that.
There's lots of things, Lauren, that are like that. Do you have a favourite little moment where it's just like, oh, okay, that happens, and then maybe it links back up, or maybe it doesn't? Because this whole maze sequence is full of that kind of stuff.
Yes, like, apparently they're in a love maze, and they never mention it ever again, and then they separate, and then they're just like...
Well, at least they went in the maze, because that's important.
My favourite bit is, let's all separate. Why? Why?
Is why the big question of like most of the scenes?
A lot of the questions is why. So Lauren, what were some really WTF moments for you?
The teddy bears for me, when they were dressed as bears, they were actually.
But that made sense, Lauren.
It totally didn't.
It did.
Why?
It was all for being anonymous, so no one could see your face or body.
Why did they choose teddy bears?
Alice in Wonderland. Jeez, get it together. No, I really like in this sequence, Sean Connery is waiting. Could you imagine his bad guy plan? So it's like, alright, Eddie, shoot them down with wasps. And then, they even go, oh, to winter, he's always one step ahead. And then,
he's waiting at the maze, like, well, they have to come here.
If my henchmen have failed, and for some reason an old lady leads them towards my maze, I better wait in this... No, in all fairness, he did have a peacock camera. Oh, that's what it means. Peacock camera let him know where they were heading, so he's like, oh, I better get there quick. I know my maze like the back of my hand. And then he's like, I better wait inside the maze to have a sword, like a cane umbrella fight, lift the umbrella in the air, and then disappear.
I like to think that his last line of this line, rain or shine, all is mine, is a magic spell, because now he's just vanished.
Yeah, if you said, wouldn't it be great if this was actually like, John Steed was like his code name, and you found out his name was actually Tom Riddle, and this is like the early days like of him as an adult, even though that doesn't make sense.
And then you're just waiting for the moment where he turns.
And he's just like, oh, Uma Thurman punched me. That's when I decided to kill Harry Potter. So this was a moment for me in which he looks like he's hypnotizing her, right? Mm-hmm. He's going to hyptonize her, and he's like,
What really annoyed me about this scene is that
eye things aren't lined up.
Don't match up.
Well, they like I would. Okay, I forgot that he unzips her there and goes, yes, I'm gonna stroke your body. He's that was one I wrote down. Spoons in a drawer going. What I love is they do this sequence and you think, oh, he's gonna hypnotize her to do something, right? He's like, you won't remember, and you think, oh, later on she's gonna like sabotage something or turn against, and she's hypnotized and whatever. No, it was just so that he could stab her with the dart and then rape her. Well, he was going to rape her. why doesn't he just rape her now? Like, I don't understand. Does he not want her to be that awake? But he wants her to be kind of...
Next time Sean Connery
wants to dance.
Okay. Well, next time Sean Connery makes a public appearance somewhere and he's taking like questions, he'd be like, "Why didn't you just rape her?"
And then he would be like, "Oh, I've had a lot of women that I have raped, but who are you talking about?
Which one?
Which one?" And I'm like, Uma Thurman. He's like, "Oh, didn't you hear?"
I'm a bit concerned about that impression I did because I can't tell if I was doing Sean Connery or Bane.
It's kind of hard because Bane is Sean Connery.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was the joke.
He's like, "Yes, I'm Sean Connery."
They finally left the maze.
Fun fact about my friend Manbear. He has a brother.
Sound like you said man bear.
Manby. Manbear pig. Manby. He has a younger brother who, for some reason, keeps asking me to do my Bane impersonation because my friend Manby told him, "Oh, when you see Ryan next, ask him to do his Bane impersonation. It's spot on." And I swear I've never done a Bane impersonation. And each time I see my friend Manby's brother, Jag Deep,
What?
Yeah, Jag Deep.
Oh, is that his name?
Yeah, Jag
Okay.
Deep. He goes, "Oh, Ryan, please let me hear your Bane impersonation." I go, "Oh, later," and he's never heard it. Because I don't know what to do, because I'm just like, "Yes, you were born into the darkness. I was, blah." And I don't know what to do, because I'm just like, oh, now it's been built up where he's going to be expecting me to be Tom Hardy, and I don't know what to do. Do I just wing it and be like,
You should.
I'll be like, "Jag Deep, you've been lied
You
to."
should do Tom Hardy from The Revenant.
We
speak kind of like this and don't really
I want to do him. No, okay. This is a scene that I really did love. I hope you loved it, Bartek, where he's just like refusing to take a charity. It's like, "Not any other day," and he's just so mean. And then she's like, "You know what? I'm gonna give up the secret spy act," and he looks genuinely surprised. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you were like, "Okay, Sean, stop hitting your wife. Now get ready for the scene. You know how it's playing out. She's gonna ask you to charity. You're gonna say no and slam the door, and then she breaks into the house, okay? And then, okay, action." And then it plays out like that, where she grabs a gun out, and Sean's like, "Holy crap, I wasn't taught about a gun. What, a gun?" And it's just,
Also, it's like in Starsky and Hutch where Huggy Bear gets like slapped for real.
Yeah, it's like in The Departed, where Jack Nicholson points a real gun at Leonardo DiCaprio, and nobody knew that Jack Nicholson was going to be nobody knew there was going to be a gun in that sequence.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in The Departed, Jack Nicholson thought to intensify the scene, he would use a gun.
And it was
because there was no
loaded.
gun, and it was a real loaded gun.
Holy.
He was pointing at Leonardo DiCaprio's face, hence the realism.
That's
Talking about
health and
realism,
safety.
here's the lack of it. In surrealism, in which she is stuck in this... If he has this technology, why isn't he using it?
As a torture house.
Wait,
or something.
he doesn't have it though, doesn't he? Because this is her delusion, isn't it?
Is it a delusion?
But well,
I thought it was real.
I thought it was real because John Steve's on the other side.
Yeah, he's tapping,
covered
and
up
then
and he's
she
tapping.
jumps through the window, and he looks in, and he sees this. I'm so confused. Is this not real? Because I agree with Bartek on a level, because we know that she's been poisoned, but at the same...
And she was woozy when she got up.
But at the same time, it's kind of like it doesn't really establish as if this is dreamy enough anymore. I thought there's like, oh, Sean Connery, who can manufacture weather, can manufacture this room.
How funny would it be though if he specifically like broke it in the next room just to mess with her?
Yeah, and he's also just like, this is how I get all my victims.
It's like how he knew they'd be in the maze.
Yeah, exactly. He's got cameras. The answer is cameras. But really, the writing process, Lauren. If you're the writer for this movie and you're writing this scene, what's the thought process? Say like we're the two producers and you're like, "Oh guys, I want to write this sequence in which Uma Thurman's stuck in this room that never ends." And it's like, "Oh yeah, Lauren, that sounds great. What is it? Is it a hallucination scene?"
No, it's real.
Oh, it's real. Okay, so what? The villain has this technology that he can use all the time.
Yeah. But he doesn't just utilize it; he just forgets about it completely.
Maybe it was a weather trick.
So we just missed a scene in which I wanted you to pay attention. She is super hearing Alice, the old woman, but she couldn't hear Eddie Izzard walk up behind her, lift his arm, ruffling his shirt, to hit her in the back of the head with his gun. A gun or club or whatever. And then Eddie Izzard is just like chewing gum and smiling. You were saying, Lauren, that Eddie Izzard was your favorite because he emotes. Mm-hmm. He's just happy to be here. But did you not watch this scene in which Ralph Fiennes was about to jizz all over her leg? And then
he like, I love the way he takes the boot off. He's like, I'll just stroke your leg while I do it.
Wouldn't you want to stroke him with Thurman's leg?
Well, he wants you to remember this scene.
Wouldn't it be weird because it's all sweaty too? Her leg would be sweaty because she's just been running and she got raped nearly, so she would have all the stress sweat. That's just me though. I love, Bartek, did you agree in this love of the moment where the camera, like they crank the camera so it is on double speed, it pans around and zooms in on the entire ministry team just standing there? Because I laughed so hard.
I'm sorry, what are we talking about?
In this sequence here, he's about to kiss her, and then the camera is like, they've cranked the camera and they've got it on like double the speed so it can quickly pan around and zoom in on the entire ministry standing there in his house, just looking at him as he's about to kiss her.
I want to see this camera work, because I remember that...
I laughed so hard. It was probably the thing I laughed at the hardest since, one should never fear being wet. That was quintessential line delivery, but when it came to filmmaking, this film hasn't been funny in a visual sense, it's been all word funny.
Nope, we're getting right up to it.
Yeah, and the place. And look at him, he's about to jizz his pants so hard. But then he's like, I'm a British gentleman. I don't jizz.
Too tight push.
Too tight push. And then they look, and then the camera work, and then the boom.
I see. That is good.
It just like goes crash zooms in, and it's just like, and the music's like, and it's just like on Father, and then on Steve. It's just like,
That's good.
It was so, I laughed so hard. And they were all standing there, just like looking at him about to fuck her. And I like Father being blind, just like, but she looks so happy.
Yeah, knowing now that she was blind, it made the croquet scene make a bit more sense.
Because he's clearly cheating and she doesn't notice.
I thought it was like a thing of she was like so inferior to him that she won't acknowledge his clearly like bullshit.
Yeah, but she's
sabotage.
blind.
But she's blind, so it makes sense.
Whoa. So, after this movie, guys, how do you feel about weather?
Oh, it's a bit cloudy, but when I
It was insanely windy outside my house, and even walking here after I parked my car, I was like, oh, it's so windy.
But Miss Movie, how did it make you feel about the weather?
I don't need sunglasses if I was in this movie. Oh, we're coming up to the guy who you think would be a good spy, but I don't know why. Is it because he played John Steed in the TV show?
Yeah, I like his name's Colonel. Is it Colonel?
Colonel Jones. Colonel I. Jones.
Get it? It's because he's invisible. That's what the I stands for.
And Jones is, well, you know. So apparently in the trivia, he said that the original script, or one of the scripts for this movie, was better than half the episodes.
Combined, but then the original, then it got turned into this.
And didn't some other actor also really liked the original script? Was it Sean Connery?
Sean Connery wanted his character to be expanded upon because he was only like in it a little bit as a villain, but he was like, I imagine Sean Connery was like, I like this a lot, but I've got to have a scene in which I'm wearing a sporran.
A what?
A sporran.
What's that?
It's the thing that's over the kilt, the big furry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've got one.
Yes, Ryan does own one. I have seen him wear it multiple times at university.
He's like, I've got to wear a sporran, hold a cane, and threaten the entire world with the idea that I'm going to lightning them to death. It is, this film has everything that one needs. You ask yourself why. Why is this happening? And I haven't had a film make me ask this in quite a long time. My history of this movie, I haven't talked about it. My parents owned it on VHS. And I watched it as a kid, and I thought, oh, I'm too young to get this. I'm too young. Now that I'm older and I've studied film, and now I've watched it, I still don't get it. And that's a good thing. Like in this scene, why is she crazy? She's only been there for like 14 hours or so.
In the previous scene where she was with Steve, she was talking about when they were playing chess. He was psychoanalyzing her. Yeah, and he's pretty much like, you're insane.
No, he was talking about kind of like, he wasn't just talking about like, she's actually insane. It's just like, the profile one could make up on you would be this. Like, if you could psychoanalyze anyone, you could come up with something. But it's like, she's been in here for like a day and she's like lost her mind.
Do you think that this is the point where we should talk about the original plot?
Yes, Bartek, do go on about the original plot, because I've looked up the original plot on many different things, and there's so many different versions of what the original plot was.
Yeah. So much like with the Spanish thing, correct me if I missed something. The original plot was that she and her
husband
and
his
brother, they worked at some science place
which does exist in this movie.
Which does exist, and like something happened there, and they supposedly died.
Yeah, an explosion. The explosion at the start of this movie happened.
Mm-hmm.
And, the brother and the husband died. Yep. Which in this movie, the remnants that is still there, where it's just like her husband was also a former agent and he just disappeared.
Yeah, and the secret twist at the end of the movie was supposed to be that they were alive, or at least the husband was.
No, it was the brother's alive.
The brother's alive all along, and he's the villain. And he's fucking with her, making her think she's crazy by getting, like, visions of herself and stuff.
Yeah, so in the original plot, De Winters was called Merryweather.
Yeah.
And he was still doing this evil, insane plan, but it was more focused on showing this woman's psychological peril, because the brother is actually mentally fucking around with her, making the ministry think that she was the one that exploded it, killing her own husband, making her think that she did it herself, even though she doesn't remember, eventually driving her insane to the point of like,
thinking she had multiple personalities.
Multiple personalities.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, Lauren, they take down Merryweather, or in this case, De Winter in this movie, and they find out underneath the mask, it's the brother all along. So in the original script, the evil brother-in-law plays 3 people: himself, her husband, and Merryweather. So it's like the original movie apparently is better than this one. But at the same time, it sounds like a great Scooby-Doo 3. Like, it doesn't... Oh, that Sporran shot. I would love it if Sean Connery ripped off his mask and he was Marky Mark in the entire Funky Bunch. I mean, it would be the greatest thing ever.
So that quiz was foreshadowing.
So the original movie also had evil Uma Thurman, who is a robot.
Yeah.
Father is blind. Mother... You find out why Mother got crippled. We don't know why, but you apparently do find out. It's insane. I would love to see both versions of that movie.
I would too.
This one and the other one, because this one is great. I've said a lot of seemingly negative things about this, but I enjoyed it as a kid. I didn't understand what was happening, but now I still don't understand, but I still enjoy it.
I forgot about that.
A lot of things in this movie you forgot about, Bartek. Understandable. Here she is. Here's the surreal moment where she looks like she's just come out of the rain, and she's just like, oh, all right, here you are. He wants the Prime Minister to deliver this.
No, it's like she's just escaped the maze in Eddie Izzard, and she's like had to go, okay, I'm okay. It's like that swearing exercise we had to do in drama.
What one?
With the one where you have to swear at the audience and then go
The one that you nailed, Ryan.
Yeah, I nailed it.
Yeah.
So, in this movie, she's walking in... I really want to know, you know what, if they made an Avengers completely about this old woman and her career in the ministry, like when she started till now, I would watch that. I would watch this old woman's one, and she's just like, father.
I really liked her line in response to the, did he torture you?
No.
Like, he didn't have to. He's already got an insider in it.
Yeah, he didn't have to. Father's like, I will go out myself.
In the snow.
Mother goes, I will go out myself with a pistol, but hey, it's cold outside, so I better put some gloves on.
And also the wheelchair like went, whoa!
Here's my favorite bit. But which one? Could it be the one that's unconscious or the one that's holding the one unconscious that's the real Emma Peel? You decide.
If they followed through with the movie's law of like everyone being calm and polite, he probably would have just said the one being held, like
Yeah,
without
right. He's
caring.
like, my father, I do believe would be the one being held. And then father would be like, by Lord, you got it. Hand her over.
Because why would the good one be holding the bad one?
Here's the thing, it makes sense if both of them were standing there, handcuffed and gagged, and they were being...
both panicking.
And both, you know what I mean? But the other one was clearly not emoting any fear.
Yeah.
And the other one was unconscious.
It's like, pick wisely.
Wouldn't it be great if this was like the bad guy scene where it's just like at the end, it's like, you get to decide which one is which. And that's the scene that they chose. It's like, it's a typical thing with these movies where there's clones or doubles. It's like, yes, but which one's which? And you might kill the wrong one. And then it's just like, well, I'm pretty sure in this case which one it is.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that right there, his confusion, was that the only time seeing double has really fucked and with anyone apart from maybe that roof scene where Ralph Fiennes saw it?
When it fucked her up when she took the mask off of herself and she saw herself.
Well, no, I mean, for someone else who's like, which one's which? That's like the closest thing we've got to a which one's which.
Well, yeah, and he's just like, they do make the whole thing.
The balloon scene.
The balloon. I like he doesn't even he wasn't even talking when he said don't mind me. He was just smoking. So in this scene, he knows that she's on the balloon being kidnapped. And what does he do in retort, guys? Do you remember what John does? No. What does he do?
I remember an explosion.
Well, she does that.
Yeah.
But what does John do?
Oh, he starts tracking her.
Yes.
Through the boot.
Through the boot.
Yes.
That's correct. But what does he do to track her?
He just walks.
He walks. He knows it's a life-death situation. The world's gonna end. Everything. What does he do? He just goes, oh, that balloon's clearly like 8 clicks away. I'm going to walk. It's a nice snowy day outside. La 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 la
He's
la.
a polite gentleman, doesn't need to rush.
Wait, does he even run in this movie, really?
No.
He kind of power walks from place to place.
What about when he's in the building right after the teddy bears? Does he run at any point there?
No. Yeah, no, he kind of power walks everywhere, really.
Like after they find the 2 dead bodies and they leave, and just before the pointing shot.
He kind of power walks out of the room. He kind of like, he doesn't run. He does that kind of panicked. He does that kind of panicked kind of fast walk kind of you do, but he doesn't run. Because that would be too strenuous. He's just casually Spider-Maning his way through the city. But like, casually.
Yeah, what's it called? Kingsman really didn't take too many nods from this.
That's something I did want to bring up with the modern landscape.
Did or didn't want to bring
I
up?
did.
Oh, good.
Which was, I wrote in my notes, manners maketh man, many times. Because, you're right. Like, this movie really does help inspire Kingsman. But Kingsman showed us how to do it correctly. Where it showed you, not saying that this movie isn't great, it is, but Kingsman's appreciated one. And why is it appreciated? Because it knows how to make us understand what's happening, yet kind of keep things from us. That's the great thing about these spy movies. It's all about, holding and withholding information from the audience until the moment is right. And this movie, unfortunately, for the general public, but fortunately for us, it withholds the information for 89 minutes. And that's great. You don't get a movie like that.
And I suppose from even, like, the production standpoint, Kingsman does have, like, more American humour in it as well, because you've got Samuel L. Jackson and, McDonald's jokes and all that kind of stuff.
Do you see where she's landed?
Yeah, like on a statue, she would not have survived.
She jumped and her head is landed on a statue. And she's fine. She's just a bit sweaty.
Would you call that a surreal thing, Ryan?
I'd call it real. Have you ever jumped off a hot air balloon when a blind person is driving it? Clearly not. But I have. And I've survived. And I'm here now. Wouldn't that be great if we found out what happened to Mother was he was on a hot air balloon and he jumped off, and that's how he crippled himself.
And he landed in the wheelchair.
And he landed in the wheelchair, and he goes, "This saved my life. I'm never getting out of this." And he's actually not crippled. So, in the original TV show, Lauren, did you know that they never kissed?
Never kissed, yes,
except
I read that.
for if it was for spy reasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
yes.
this movie,
romanticizes the fact.
it takes a leap of faith. This is kind of like the X-Files, in which you think, are they going to get together? Are they not? This is this
He doesn't
version.
look like he's enjoying it though. He was like,
Ralph Fiennes never looks like he's enjoying anything sensual. You know what I mean?
Well, in the very last Harry Potter movie, when he hugged Malfoy...
Yeah, but it wasn't a sensual.
Well done. Well done, Draco. I've seen the edit on YouTube where he just keeps going back to hug him some more.
At the same time, I love his portrayal of Voldemort, but it's also like, well, how are you? It's like, you know, with acting, you go, okay, how am I going to tackle this? And he just goes, I'm going to speak as Voldemort. What's my Voldemort voice? This is my Voldemort voice. And then people have a go at Eddie Redmayne in Jupiter Ascending for doing the exact same voice and going, it's stupid, it's so silly. But then they're like, Voldemort, yeah, that's a serious menace right there. But really, if you met Voldemort in the street and he was just like, Lauren, I'm going to get you, and you're like, sir, do you need a puffer? Did you even? So I can imagine in the Harry Potter world, Voldemort comes up to Lauren. You know who he is, and he's just like, Lauren, I'm going to kill your family, and you're like, oh my sir, are you okay? Do you need medical attention? Are you missing a puffer? You're so pale. You'll try to help him. You're such a sympathizer. Like Lauren's, I would make a cartoon comic book out of Lauren the accidental sympathizer, and it's about her accidentally sympathizing in events that she shouldn't be. It's like Hitler, and he's just like doing his arm thing, and you just hear his arm crack, and you're like, oh no, and you accidentally become a Nazi. Because you heard him hurt his arm.
Lauren, the Stockholm Syndrome girl, who in turn gives the people that kidnap her, I think the opposite is Lima syndrome.
Wow. Why did they call it another place?
Okay, we're going to talk them about... They're not even running across the water. They're
They're
just strolling.
walking. They don't run. We've established this,
They should have
Lauren.
rolled.
Here's what I don't get is, why does he let them in?
He
He knows it's not her.
A lot of the things I've read online are just like, oh, he thought it was, the clone, but
then he listens to them talking.
yeah, and he sees them on the video. There's clearly John there.
There is also a theory that she's actually the clone,
Well, of course,
which makes no
maybe.
sense because they're
Any
wearing completely
movie where
different
there's
outfits.
a clone, the theory will be, oh, it's a clone.
Oh, wouldn't it be a plot twist that in fact Sean Connery is a clone and the real Sean Connery is actually Sean Connery? And he's just like, I don't remember this. I like how it's all
snow
the
on him.
yeah, in his mouth, but it looks like paper.
Before the...
Well, it makes sense because there's mouth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also it does look like paper because it's not real snow.
No, it's real snow. Didn't you know that?
Oh yeah, because real snow melts on faces.
Yeah, but it melts on his hat and clothes as well. You can
It's clearly staying on his hat.
No, if you watch it more, you can see that his suit and hat are getting wet as the movie goes on from the snow. There's been a few shots where it's already shown that.
Have you ever been in snow, Ryan?
No, but
Right.
look at his suit. It's damp from the snow.
The snow would be gone by now.
No, but he was standing in snow, so there's snow always going on him. Get it right, Bartek? Jeez, I'm a snow expert. Some people might call me Sean Connery.
Look, I snow what I snow, okay?
What did you feel about that, Lauren? Did you feel that pun worked?
Sexual tension in the phone booth. Totally.
No, I meant Bartek's pun. Did you feel that worked?
Clearly, I was
Ryan,
focused on other things.
You were talking about me, she was talking about sexual tension. I take it as a compliment.
Yeah,
naked woman is
Bartek,
talking about sexual tension.
remember, she's naked as well, talking about the sexual
And remember,
tension.
if you listen to early episodes, apparently I'm always shirtless.
Not always, just sometimes. Most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
At this point in the movie, you know that it's ending because it's getting to the big climax. But at the same time, you kind of, as the audience, go, well, I don't know what's been happening, so there must be more movie left, right? To kind of answer this. I like how he did show the fact he was cold by just blowing his hand, going, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, that's a move I like to do.
Is it?
You know that.
Ooh. Oh no! But he didn't blow in his hand. He blew on his hand, like whoo, and then
Okay,
just like, and then shook his hand and went, "Oh."
Must be a British thing.
It must be a Ralph Fiennes thing. Look at him. He's so charming. He's just like, "Did you know I was in the English Patient?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, Pulp Fiction."
And she's like, "Did you know I was an English patient?" It's like, "Aren't you Irish?"
I love that episode of Seinfeld where Elaine goes to see the English Patient and she just screams at the screen, just going, "Just die already!" That's like one of my favorite Elaine moments because it's so out of character for her to hate it, because that time in the show it's like, oh yeah, she should like it. Like you know how you get with certain characters, like in this movie I feel like Sean Connery's character would really love C-SPAN. I feel like Elaine's character would have liked the English Patient, but then no, we were dead wrong. So this fight sequence that's about to happen, did you feel afraid?
No.
I'm sorry.
I thought...
Why? This is a great movie. It's supposed to make you feel
actually,
afraid. Did you not feel scared for Eddie Izzard?
Oh, Eddie Izzard, yes.
I feel so afraid for him.
I would have been more afraid if he didn't have a harness.
This made no sense to me because he loses the umbrella and then
he's being rained upon by glass
and he has no cuts.
Because you know why? You know why?
Because he's a robot.
No, because he's wearing a Trubshaw suit. I mean, did you not read the fucking...
Yes, but it's not protecting his face.
No, but he's in the
hands.
suit.
Does glass hit his face?
Yes, it hits all of his...
Does it really? It's a surreal movie, remember that.
I love this wire hanging fight and how Eddie Izzard is playing it so sensually. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not playing menacingly. He's playing it like, this is a ballet for me. And she's playing it like,
I need to be prepared.
And she's playing it like, this is a fight for my life. And he's just like, whimsical ballet for Eddie Izzard today. So, like, the acting in it is basically Eddie's coming from it as in, oh, this is a fun day on set. I get to fight Uma Thurman and wave my knife in an erotic manner. And Uma Thurman's playing it like, my character's fighting for her life. I love the two different polar opposites.
So, obviously in the trivia, we haven't mentioned this yet, but it was a fairly prominent thing in all the trivia sections. Eddie Izzard did have lines in the original movie.
But he wanted less or not.
But he chose to be silent because he thought it would do better for his character. Do you think he was right?
I thought he was right. Yeah.
I thought he was right, yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Because apparently his lines are all kind of... I love when he shakes the thing.
I love it, and then she does it too later, when she's like, oh yeah, I like how why don't you just cut the wires? Cut them.
Cut the wire she's hanging off.
Yeah, but then he might cut himself. She kicked him in the belly, and his reaction... Oh, it was crotch shot, and then he grabs his belly going, yeah.
I love that. It's just spinning.
I love that
This
part.
would have been a fun day on set. You know it. They're like, Eddie, you know what to do. And then he's like, oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh fuck.
Well, someone says that.
So, Lauren, you wrote quite a lot of notes.
No, I didn't.
She wrote
That's
4
pages.
4 pages of, like, 3 pages of notes. And some of these notes make no sense to me. But one of them really struck home, which is, what era is this set in? What era is this set in, Bartek? When you watched it, did you think it was 1960s? Or did you think it was when it was made? What did you think?
Well, I did walk into it knowing that it was a 60s spy show, and the car that John Steed drives is an older car, and nothing here seems too, 90s, so I had a feeling this time. Usually when we asked a question, I was like, didn't even think about it. This time, I think it would be somewhere in the 60s. But is there an anachronism that might, prove me wrong, that you've noticed?
Well, the TV screens and shit.
Well, didn't spy shows in the 60s always have, futuristic-looking stuff?
I guess.
I guess that's kind of like a
also,
catch-22, isn't it?
Uma Thurman's actual spy get-up,
is 60s as hell, yeah.
That's a little bit 60s, but it's got, the 90s, red tight jumpers, the round zippers, and...
Come to think of it, like, in that very first shot we see her, I think it was the first one, where she, answered the phone, she's wearing what looks kind of like a China dress?
Yeah. And also, she had a wireless phone.
Mm.
So, this movie... No, this is the fight. The end all fight sequences. Nothing says smart like having a fight in a lightning storm on metal. And, I personally love that Big Ben. It's the same Big Ben explosion in every movie.
And also in Doctor Who, too, to some degree.
Yeah, so this fight sequence, you know what I like about it?
I actually liked the rain and the water effects
Well,
of
yeah,
this.
it looked intense.
Impressive.
It looked intense, but it actually looks like the actors. Like, I know it's not necessarily them, like they are stuntmen, but they did a good job with the Sean Connery guy because Sean Connery is an old man.
Yeah.
And he's a very distinct looking old man. But in the far away shots like that and this and all that, it actually does kind of look like Sean Connery. And you know what? If you said to me, Ryan, it is Sean Connery, I'll go, you know what? I'll take it.
It is our lovable Welsh Sean Connery.
A lovable South African Sean Connery.
A lovable Zimbabwe man.
Okay. All right, Bartek. Indian is Manby, actually. My friend Manby. So, this is near the end. Now, you guys, having now seen it again, was this film as emotionally heart-tugging as it was the first time? Did it confuse you less, Lauren?
No, I'm still just as confused.
Is that a good thing?
Probably.
Probably. So, Lauren, you have quite... I like how you're playing it down like, I don't have that many notes. It's like she has a lot of notes. You wrote a timeline for where actors were. Like, I love Uma Thurman, Tarantino's muse, married to Ethan Hawke, divorced by this point, right? And then she was married to Gary Oldman and then divorced. She turned down Almost Famous, Knocked Up, like the Seth Rogen Knocked Up.
Yeah.
But not at this point because he didn't exist, right? And Lara Croft. These are just trivia facts about Uma Thurman, right?
From IMDb, guys.
Did I hear that right? She was married to Gary Oldman?
Who wasn't married to Gary Oldman?
Lauren.
We don't know what she's up to these days. And then, you already mentioned that. And one of the sexiest stars, huh?
Thank you.
You're not a star. But you're sexiest.
Hey, don't diss boy B.
Wait. He's been stabbed. Look at that. He stabbed him through, and he's clearly holding it.
Yeah.
It actually kind of looked like a giant, generic magic wand.
That's what I thought
White
too.
tip.
That's what I thought too. I like he's bleeding, and when you get struck by lightning, does it often drag you back up to the sky?
I like how, even
you just see his face.
the artificial lightning. Lightning goes to the highest metal pole, whatever, and that was good enough.
Yeah, they were like, how do we end this?
It's horizontal, but yeah.
I love the fact that Oxo's in there. I'm like, is that a product placement?
Yeah, they have it at the end.
What is Oxo?
Stock cubes.
What?
They make stock cubes, for cookie.
Stock cubes. Bartek doesn't cook.
For cookie cutters? Or
No.
What?
No, so when you're making soup and stuff,
Uh-huh.
you need stock.
Yeah.
So it's
Beef stock, chicken
Flavouring.
stock. It's flavoring cubes.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. Right.
No, I like when you're like, what, for cookies?
You were saying cubes. I'm like,
This is the moment where it's red wire or blue wire? They're all blue wires!
is that a Family Guy joke, right?
Yes. So, now the movie's practically ended, but this movie has 4 endings. She jumps off of things at great heights and survives. That's her superpower.
She knows Assassin's Creed will be popular.
At what point did you guys figure out that this wasn't going to be the Marvel Avengers? Bartek, we already know that you've watched a movie. You watched Annie, and it took you 25 minutes to realize it wasn't Carrie.
well, it was when the sun will come out tomorrow. So,
that's that point. He thought Carrie was a musical.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was a difference. It was just both in my head.
But this, we obviously all knew because we're like, where's Robert Downey Jr.?
where's Tom Hiddleston?
Well, he isn't Ralph Fiennes Tom Hiddleston, but older. I mean, isn't he dating T Swift? Who is Ralph Fiennes dating? Come on, where's your info on him?
He was married to Riversong, but they divorced.
Riversong
out of Doctor Who.
So, not River Song.
Not her
Alex
anymore.
Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was able to. Oh, I wasn't able to find a quiz on this one. So
No quiz on the Avengers 1998.
No, but
I'll
I
give
did know
you-
which character are you.
What character are you?
Well, the quiz was bullshit. It said I was Thor, God of Thunder.
That is bullshit.
Oh, here we go. Here's your secretary scene.
I like her buttons. Are you attracted to Jim Broadbent?
No.
Look at him. He's an attractive man. Look at him eat that. Wouldn't you feed... Okay, better question. Would you feed Jim Broadbent?
Yes, because he's old and I'd feel really sympathetic.
He's not really that old, though, is he?
So
Because he's been playing old
Old
for
man.
like 30 years. So, like, he's not really that old.
you know something we haven't talked about yet? He likes macaroons.
Yeah, he does.
And there was a whole point of don't
Don't,
Oh, yeah.
Don't eat the macaroons.
And
He
she
likes
does
them.
spitefully, and then at the end, her character. If you told me, Ryan, you know the whole movie's point is the character arc of Uma Thurman's character is not to eat the maroons at the end, I would believe you.
But I remember once, I think it was after we did the Shaggy Dog episode, you were telling me about a movie Rock and Roller.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Rock and Roll. There was a character who everyone was talking about. Having all these interesting traits, and then you find out later that they're really exaggerated. He's got a nice smile. But
No, you never see them.
Oh, you never see them.
Okay, so in the movie Rock and Roller, Mark Strong, who is also, oddly enough, in Kingsman, the Secret Service, he
Yes.
plays Merlin. He has this character called Archie, and they're like, Archie, the famous Archie smile, and the whole thing is you never see him smile, right? And then the guy gets slapped, and he's like, that's the famous Archie slap. The only time you see something, he's like, have you seen Archie's gun? He's like, what about Archie's gun? That's the famous Archie gun. And you never really see the gun. Every time Archie has a gun, it's someone else's gun. And it's like, that's not the Archie gun. And it's just like, you never see any of that's the thing I love. It's just the famous Archie. It's you never see it.
So yeah,
Rafe.
Rafe finds.
No, Ralph Fiennes. I love the painting that they have here on screen.
Well, Big Ben's fine. Anyway, Rafe finds he makes a big deal out of that whole thing of don't take the macaroons because I guess he would be disgruntled by it. But Rafe finds is the only one.
He looks genuinely pissed off.
He's the only one who makes a big deal out of the macaroons, and also he gave the scientist guy at the start of the movie macaroons from Mother.
No, he gave them to give to Mother. He's like, give these to Mother, they're his favourite.
No,
And
I
you're
thought,
like,
they
Oh,
were
I
a
thought
gi-
they-
I thought they were a gift from Mother.
Yeah, that's what I-
His
that's-
I thought he
favourite.
was like, for Mother. I thought it was for Mother because the scientist is going to see him.
No, from
No,
Mother.
from
That's
Mother.
what I
Oh,
thought.
we're going to check this out at the end.
Well,
I'm telling you.
1 out of 3 people roll joke.
Whoa, so the movie has finally ended. 89 minutes. Did you feel the 89 minutes?
Yeah, I honestly did.
Did it? But what about the sword fight arrangements was by Bill Hobbs. So this movie is a masterpiece to the nth degree. We're going to have our reviews and ratings. I'm going to start first.
Could I just say first, you usually ask, favourite characters and everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You haven't asked me, and I even, I made some foreshadowing before the episode.
Okay, so as I was saying, who's your favourite character, guys?
Ryan, when I walked in, what was the first thing I did? To your house?
You knocked.
Yeah, but after I walked in,
You took your sunglasses off.
no, I said I was going to throw something in the bin.
Oh, you said you're going to throw your can in the bin.
Yeah, what was the can of?
Oh, I didn't look. It was an energy drink or something, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was Mother.
Oh.
My favourite character was Mother.
Mother, just because... Why? What was so interesting about Mother for you?
It is interesting because Mother isn't one of the funnier characters in this movie. He's not one of the crazier ones. Not that there are many crazy ones, but every time I looked at Mother, he's just sitting in his chair, kind of looked like he always had a little bit of nervousness about him.
Well, he did have severe dandruff.
Severe dandruff, and I can relate.
He is related to Jim
I
Broadbent.
guess
so-
I just saw myself in Mother, and Mother always just had a very interesting presence, and when he was on the wheelchair, whoa!
with his little gloves. What
his
about you,
gloves.
Lauren? Did you have a fave?
Well, you guys have already mentioned your faves.
Oh,
That's why I was
When
getting
was
left
Eddie
out.
Izzard?
Oh, Eddie, yeah.
Eddie.
Silent Eddie.
Yeah.
So, this movie is a masterpiece. The best film ever made. Easy to say. Although this movie is incomplete, yes, this movie is incomplete due to the Spanish. Again, Another problem that the English have
Damn Spaniards!
The English, once again foiled by the Spanish. This movie is an incomplete movie, and that really is the answer to why it's unappreciated. Yes, I said a bunch of other reasons before, but they're only little contributing factors. But the fact that this movie is incomplete is what keeps it from being an appreciated masterpiece, because I do believe that if we saw the added material, things would add up.
Ken Kittens.
Oh, I thought you were laughing at Chris Martin was a part of the model team. No, this movie is incomplete, but it is also a complete movie in the fact that it is incomplete. The fact that it is incomplete reminds us of ourselves, because we are not complete yet. We are beings of the universe, just like the Avengers, who at no point avenge anything. This movie will keep you nice and happy.
Was that song in the movie?
Raindrops keep falling on my head? I don't remember. I think it's when you enter her house. You hear it in the background. But this movie is going to keep you happy at the end of the day. The movie is designed to entertain. But you know what they did instead? They made an intellectual piece. And that is the real genius of The Avengers 1998. If I had to give this a rating, if you had to twist my arm, say, Ryan, do the rating now. We need to hear your rating. I would only give it one rating, and that rating is attempted rape. Sean Connery style. Because he also said, you won't remember. So, Lauren, let's hear from you. Your rating and a review. Your rating of your choice and a review.
Okay, so considering I hadn't seen this really before, the first time it confused me. I was sitting on my heater at home because it was freezing, and I was going.
It was freezing in the movie too.
Why am I
It's a shitty heater.
this? Why? I still don't understand it. Second time around, I'm just as confused. But because I am really a little bit related to Ralph Fiennes, I have to be a bit friendly.
Related to him, eh?
Yes.
How are you related to him?
Because he's eighth cousin to Prince Charles, and I am 34th cousins to Prince Harry.
Well, I'm sure that,
So
Bartek and I are both Polish, so that means we're related, I guess.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So we have to be a little bit
We're
biased.
Polish, we kiss each other. It's fine.
So my it's a good spy movie. I'll probably have it on if I need a bit of a nap.
Best movie ever?
Best movie ever?
Potentially,
Ever
yes.
made? Favorite
Potentially.
Ralph Fiennes performance?
Maybe not. He was definitely more charming than usual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sexy?
Yeah.
You saw him naked.
We didn't see him completely naked.
What do you mean? We saw his butt. We saw
Did
his...
you want to see his D?
Have we seen Ralph Fiennes' D yet? In
No,
film?
I don't think so.
But that air stewardess saw his D. You know that story, right?
No.
Ralph Fiennes had sex with an air stewardess and he got in big shit
Yes,
for it.
yes,
Like,
I
everyone was like
remember
losing their
this.
minds. They were like, he was on the news and all that back in the
Yes,
day.
because it was
And they
a
were
Mile
like-
High Club.
He was like, they were like, oh, that's scummy. And the only reason they were giving that to him because he's not an attractive man. That was the reason they were like criticizing the fuck out of him, because they're like, this guy having sex on an airplane. And that was like Hollywood's reaction to it. But if it was like George Clooney, they would be like, oh, legend. But yes, keep going.
Okay, so my rating is Eddie Izzard's Silence.
Oh, fuck.
Let's hear from Manby.
First of all, to all the Helen Lovejoys in the world, D means dick.
No, it means Dean. Come on.
Dean Martin.
Who was not in this movie.
We haven't done a Dean Martin movie yet.
Well, none of them are unappreciated.
When did he die?
I don't know, but go on with your
Probably
review.
in a decade we haven't done yet. Okay, so this movie, The Avengers 1998, which is based on a spy show from the 60s and later got remade into a movie with apparently Thor the God of Thunder.
And Taylor Swift's boyfriend,
And who's Taylor Swift's boyfriend?
Tom Hiddleston.
Who's Loki?
Loki.
Loki.
Lachlan.
Nah.
Lachlan, brother of Thor.
Go on.
This movie, it really is quite a similar, pre-production wise, similar to the Stepford Wives in that a lot of things were changed and a lot of people thought that it was changed for the worse. But much like that movie, it is, you know, you mentioned the surrealist aspect. From the filmmaking aspect, it is a movie that really tried its best to just be what it is despite all of the problems that came before it. You know, like, once more, this is a movie where originally there was going to be robots. And in the end...
What is it with Hollywood and robots?
Yes, this is
and
Warner
a lot of
Brothers.
unmasking.
Well, this is Warner Brothers. Are they Hollywood?
Yes. Damn Hollywood.
Well, we did have robot bees or wasps, I think.
So,
yeah.
ticked off on the robot front.
Yes. Tick. Ow, tick. I didn't even hurt myself. Why did I say ow? This movie has a lot of great performances, and this one, it's a British one that didn't give us any American characters, did it?
No.
Uma Thurman?
Well, she was putting on a British accent.
Was she? Yeah. Okay, yeah. No American characters.
She's a British character, but, you know, American
Would it be a plot twist if it was like, did you know that De Winters is American? That was Sean Connery.
Or a freaking Eddie Izzard, because he doesn't say anything, so you don't know.
He does say, oh fuck, in a British accent, so...
Well,
okay.
he doesn't, but...
Go on.
The post-production made it that way. This movie gives us a lot of things to think about. That comes from it being a surrealist movie, such as, you know, why do they go to the maze? Or, you know what, anything else in the movie? The aliens?
Yeah! Wouldn't it have been a great twist that it was aliens?
Now, remind me, because I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, wasn't there an alien thing in the Avengers movie 2012?
Well, Thor and Loki are
technically
aliens. Not even technically, they are aliens.
But what like...
Yeah, alien monsters descended from space to kill all of humanity. Yes.
So that's where the lore ties in.
Ooh.
De Winters was right.
Took him like 12 years to get there.
Yes.
12 years, but
Englishman De Winters was right. I feel like there's a lot more I could say about this movie, but
it's left you wordless.
it has, and I hate to be a Liam here, but I think you guys really said it well.
So, what's your rating, buddy?
If I have to give this movie a rating, this is going to be one of the ones where I do it a bit differently. I want to like simulate a conversation between the movie and myself. So, and this is, I'll just, you know, this isn't going to be like that one where I was like, interpret it for yourself. This one I'm going to explain. It's going to be a reference to a 60s spy show. The movie walks up to me and it goes, "Who is number one?" And I say, "You are."
Wow.
Oh.
Spylicious.
You know which series that's a reference to?
I do not remember the name, but I do know what you're referencing.
Yes, it is The Prisoner.
Ah, The Prisoner, yes. So, other people had other things to say.
Ooh, you're saying that differently, so maybe you're excited.
The Avengers is quite a stirring movie. I've got some positive and, yes indeed, some negative reviews here from IMDb in regards to the 1998 classic The Avengers. The first one is a 10-star review because we want to start off happy. It's called Far From Left Field, and this was written in 1998, so the movie had just come out, fresh. Well, I don't know how this one slipped through the studio system, but I'm very glad it did. When I heard about an Avengers movie, I assumed we would be getting a bastardized Hollywood formula movie, and it would resemble some of the recent Bond films more than the original series. But I was thrilled to find the film had the same wonderful sense of absurdity as the show. Smiley face. I think a lot of people are unaware this is a complete comedy. This being the case, it's not surprising people think it's bad, but that's their problem. The comedy style is not a popular one. It's a particular style of generally British humour, best described as complete and utter nonsense. If you have no appreciation for absurdity, then you will not like this film. Nothing in The Avengers should be taken at face value. It's a load of shit. And might I add, each time they write shit, they just put a bunch of asterisks after the S, so they're being polite about it.
It's maybe saying slut.
Yeah, it's a load of slut. Steed and Peel are full of slut. That's the point. No one acts the way they do. They are both constantly trying to out-cocky each other. The world of the Avengers is a place where small things are taken with the utmost seriousness and important things are not taken seriously at all. The Avengers purposely doesn't explain things. Yeah, purposely. It's not supposed to make sense. That would ruin it. It's the little things in the Avengers that make it shine. Small asides from left field that seem to go over most people's heads. Fiennes and Thurman are different than McNee and Rigg, but I'm not sure they're much worse. Fiennes could perhaps have been a bit more cheerful. Thurman's whole screen presence is so vastly different from Rigg's that it's impossible to compare. But I did enjoy Thurman's version of the infallible Peel. Connery going nuts was fun to see too. BTW, Eddie Izzard not talking was the point of him being there. Get it? Having Eddie Izzard in your movie and not having him say anything is, to my mind, very funny. It's very hard to explain to people who flock to films like The Waterboy why a film like The Avengers is so funny. Most people, I guess, will just never get it. I got it, and I'm glad that there are plenty of other people who did too. Congrats to the filmmakers for daring to be different and convincing the studio into letting you spend $70 million. And then they wrote 8 out of 10. Even though they gave it 10 out of 10.
So you think it's sort of like Blade Runner? Because that has a lot of like theories and not explaining a lot of things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I believe this movie has a few references.
Well, I hope that we get the director's cut to this. Like Blade Runner.
I did read somewhere that apparently the chess match they had there was like the exact same match from Blade Runner.
Really?
I think that was a trivia point.
Well, this person may explain some more. This is much better than expected. 9 stars.
Wow, that's the most original title ever.
It's also from 2005, so quite some time after. In spite of all the negative reviews and the low rating, I've immensely enjoyed this new version of The Avengers. No, it does not replace Patrick McNee, nor Diana Rigg, but it's not supposed to, so that does not count. Yet what positively surprised me is that the film does have the flavour of the original Avengers, that it is full of understatements, and the acting is in the difficult vein of what I call grotesque underacting. Yeah, that's a new style. We've all studied drama. We got to coin that too. Uma Thurman delivers a worthy M appeal with more than enough man appeal to keep me starry-eyed to the screen for 90 minutes. Mr. Fiennes combines distinction, humour, and resolution in a way that is worthy of Mr. John Steed. The plot is original, yet partly predictable. But aren't all of the original Avengers episodes predictable by modern audiences? Isn't a Mozart symphony predictable? Add this to the cinematography that is just delicious. And a real audience treat, even for those who consider themselves long-time Avengers fans like me.
What was that person's username?
I don't know. You can read it. It's from Amsterdam.
Michelle Cousine?
Yeah.
Hey, Uma Thurman, Michelle Cousine has a crush on you.
I think he has a bit more than a crush. So this next one, it doesn't have a star rating in it, but it may have it in there. It's from 2003, written from the United Kingdom itself.
Ooh, the Uck.
A whimsical delight. More, please.
Oh, polite. He's got the theme, the law down.
I am amazed at how well an American film has captured the matter-of-fact surrealism which the mathematician Dodgson, Lewis Carroll, gave to his dream child, Alice, as also it recalls the more knowing and oh so polite deconstruction wrought by the media-savvy British children of the 1960s upon the distressed remnants of England's imperial...
Is that all one sentence?
It's all one paragraph with commas.
So it's one sentence.
Yes. Wait, sorry. Roared by the media-savvy British children of the 1960s upon the distressed remnants of England's imperial aplomb. Of course, as Oscar... Of course, as Oscar Wilde may not have said, satire... Yeah. So, this one's got me watery in the mouth. Of course, as Oscar Wilde may not have said, satire revisited is only a lukewarm cup of tea. But then nostalgia, especially when the satire was so gentle anyway, has its own charms. And there was, anyway, a hefty dose of nostalgia amidst the cool influence of the original. It's very modern. Sorry, I'm just laughing because Bartek's just giving me this look like, this person's a genius, and I agree. Was a manifestation of the tradition was encountered. It was the utterly unruffled mane of the original which prevailed over all lapses from reason and good taste. So at its best, in the new cinema version, this is indeed a brave try by Hollywood to draw us back into the black and white psychedelia of swinging 60s British commercial television. The sheer madness of the enterprise almost works. If the money men hadn't had cold feet at the last minute, we might have been enjoying a really remarkable fantasy film. As it is, we must content ourselves with a merely very amusing piece of whimsy. Even though the plot holes left by a nervous editor, we can see some wonderfully mad logic at work. The Escher-inspired architecture of the baddies...
Escher?
Yes. Of the baddie's stately home in which Mrs. Peel at one point loses her way encapsulate this whole dream trip of a movie. And for those who don't get it, I can only say, humor is like that, very dependent on individual taste.
Wait, you said you don't get it, so is he calling you out?
He called me out. But even allowing for taste, it is a sad reflection on public taste that the Avengers overwhelmingly offends filmgoers who are probably quite prepared to accept the ever more overblown superheroes of a far more violent tradition, such as Batman or the Hulk. Of course, these two are clearly representative of the particularly adolescent taste for the extreme and crude for which the contemporary Hollywood production line largely exists. And then this is in brackets. There is every sign that Eddie Izzard's character was originally intended to satirize mega buck entertainment and mega buck villains as being really just spoiled brats with their expensive toys. End brackets. Where was that? I wish I saw that in there. But the genteel quirks of the English-inspired concept of the Avengers are, in their essence, and however silly, just too irritatingly grown up for such hyperactive youth ever to endure sitting still for. A pity the film was not left alone upon release to find its own friends.
Didn't an earlier review mention that The Waterboy came out that year?
Yeah, well, yeah, this
Could have
film...
been friends with that one.
A pity that the film was not left alone upon its release to find its own friends. Like a stray cat that will carefully choose whom it will exercise its feline charm upon. And what more feline than Uma Thurman in Mrs. Peel's catsuit? This is certainly not the sort of film to toss into an auditorium full of baying first-run morons. But I suspect that this is a film with more than one life. Wasn't that great?
I think this guy and Michelle Cuisine should fight over Uma Thurman.
So we got two more left here,
Wow.
and this is a negative one.
Oh no.
Bartek, I think you'll really like it.
Oh dear, I'm gonna get Okay, go.
From 1999, year after.
Yeah, my brother was born.
This sucks even more than a dry cleaner.
Oh, do dry cleaners suck?
They did.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought they blew, but okay.
Okay. This movie is pure molested shit.
Oh, so this one's not slut, it's shit?
Oh no, it's asterisked, but it's got a T at the end as well, so it
Oh.
could be slut. But we'll go with shit. This film is pure molested shit. First off, I'm just stopped for a moment. I love that it's pure and molested. This film is pure molested shit. Lazy actings. except Connery, who's always good. Lousy script, and over-the-edge bad holdings. Where's the people when they're... Sorry. Where's the people when they're driving around in London? Not one single person walks by. Need it be told any... Oh, sorry. Need it be told any more? Actually, no. But I can't help but wonder why Mrs. Peel had an evil twin. Sometimes you don't understand if it's the twin or her. Heck, maybe it was the twin that survived and not the heroine. Yeah, right. A bit confused. Sucks. Wait. Sucks, and sucks even more. -1 or rated bomb or turkey or overcrust or overcrossed sign or below 0 or... And that's the end of the review.
Did I not say earlier that someone was going to mention a thing of, like, maybe the evil clone survived?
But I love... That made no sense, that review, but I loved it. And then the last one.
Does it have, like, an end on punctuation, or does it just cut off?
It just ... Oh,
I see.
Or... But this is the last one, from 2000. I'm terribly sorry, but I liked this movie. Might add,
You'll forget.
I think most of the reviews that I've read have been from Sweden for some reason. I think like that's 1, 2...
Except the Uck guy.
No, 2, that's from Amsterdam, so that doesn't count. Yeah, two of them and then Amsterdam. So it's close enough. This one, I'm terribly sorry, but I like this movie. No star review in this one.
Clearly didn't like
But they liked it. Well, I like this movie. Okay, so it might just be a leaf in the wind, but it's not that bad. It was quite odd, and in many ways, very... They wrote very with V-E-H-E-R-Y.
V-E-H-E.
Very runny.
Harry.
Now I am of course not talking about poor Ralph nor Thurman. I'm of course relating to hilarious Sean Connery. I laughed my head off at his quote, Peel. Emma Peel. And you all know who I am. Since this is an agent movie and he is the king of agent, well, you know, I would give The Avengers 6 out of 10. Wait, I'd give The Avengers 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. And I really don't understand what's so bad about it. It sure is 10 times better than many, many other movies. Never pays off. Oh, okay. Well, as... Oh, God. Well, as Eminem...
Yeah, I'll read it.
No. Screw you. Well, as Eminem should have said, if you don't like my taste, sue me. And that's the end of their review. Well, as Eminem should have said, if you don't like my taste, sue me.
I thought he was going to lead into, like, other movies, and then you mentioned Eminem, like, oh, he's going to talk about an Eminem movie? No.
Well, as Eminem should have said, if you don't like my taste, sue me. That movie brought tears of joy, tears of confusion, lots of tears.
The Eminem movie?
No, The Avengers with Eminem. Also, Grace Jones did the song at the end, her James Bond song about the weather. Did you hear that in the end credits? It was like this James Bond rip-off James Bond song about cold weather. I'm not joking.
I remember that.
Okay, when we're done with this, I'm going to play that for you because it is
the credits song?
Yeah, it's the final credits song.
Oh, I skipped through the credits.
Okay, it is the credits. You did hear Grace Jones, who was a James Bond henchman for Christopher Walken in A View to Kill, singing like bad weather. It's just like the greatest thing. So you guys have been great, fantastic, wonderful, amazing, splendiferous listening people. And for you guys out there, keep yourselves safe, because Sean Connery could be controlling the weather. We don't know what he's been doing since he retired. Some say that this, along with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, made him retire from movies, but I think those two movies made him retire because you can't get any higher.
Well, I think he said some, but it was Sean Connery himself.
Sean Connery is not just one man, but several people combined together. You guys have been fantastic for being able to listen to us talk about an amazing film, to be able to understand the concepts not only that we're trying to convey, but the film, but also to imagine Lauren naked for this entire podcast. You really struggled for that one, but I can understand.
In typical Donald Trump style, we're not going to thank you for listening, we're going to congratulate you for listening.
Well
Good
done,
job,
guys. Until next time, be kind to each other.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
See ya.
See you.
Bye.